So the first topic I'm going to talk about is that the actress who's going to be playing Lois Lane in upcoming Superman Legacy film talked about how her Lois Lane is going to be feisty and that Superman's going to have a sense of humor. But I love all her comments here. So she said, "We have big shoes to fill, but we're excited to try to fill them. I think the best part about working on this has been that from top to bottom, from James Gunn to Peter Safran, everyone at DC, we're all just nerds for this stuff. There's so much love and care being taken to make this film, both a film that honors the source material and also justifies making another one. I love hearing that. I mean, I think one of the things that makes James Gunn, in my opinion, a great fit to started to reboot the DC universe is that you have somebody in charge who's maybe passionate about the characters, and he's just a great filmmaker. He does a great job with story and characters in his movies, and I think one of the things, if I had to compare it to the MCU, one of the things that made the Infinity Saga successful, I'm not talking about the Multiverse Saga, but the Infinity Saga, the first three phases, was that people fell in love with the characters. They did a great job of blowing up the characters. You had Kevin Feige, who just really who really was passionate about the characters, who was a comic book guy like you, me, or just people who were just fans. You can tell he loved the source material. He was a fan of the characters. I think that's always good to have somebody who at least is really passionate about the characters. And also, I love the part of it where she says, justified making another one, because that's one of the things I always say about franchises that, if you're going to bring a franchise back, what's the story? Do you have a compelling story that makes me like, okay, this is why you're bringing these characters back? Predator is a great example of this, where I love there was no Predator movie, and Prey was a great example where, okay, you know what? You have a great story to tell. You have a really big, compelling character reason why you're doing another Predator movie. So I love that part of it. And on next comments, well, I really enjoyed the combination with James Gunn so far. Every single person involved with this production is such a perfect nerd for Superman. We all grew up watching the movies, and some of us grew up reading the comics. I feel like it's being made with so much love. This Superman will have a sense of humor. We're excited to put our spin on things, but also on the material we love so much. Again, I love talking about the material of the comics. I love the fact that Superman's gonna have a sense of humor. That they're still gonna put their own spin on it, obviously. But I love the fact that we're gonna get maybe a joyful Superman. My thing with Superman is that it's not about making it like the Chris Reeve Superman. But I think one of the elements of the Chris Reeve Superman, and one of the things that makes at least for me, what makes personally for me a really great, compelling Superman is the fact that he's just a joyful character. I always say this: he's the opposite of Batman. Batman's the towards the dark one who sees the worst in people because he lives in Gotham City and his parents were killed when he was a kid. But Superman was raised by loving, caring parents when it came to the moral and values of just a good person wanting to help people. I mean, one reason why I love the first two original Chris Reeve Superman movies. Why I love the Dean Cain Superman show. Why I love the '90s animated Superman series. Why I loved Smallville. Why I loved the current Superman and Lois live action show or the new Superman animated series. They're, they're all different interpretations of the character, but they all keep at the core, the essence, the central core of who he is, which is he's just a joyful guy that wants to help people. Clark Kent, he loves being Superman. Even when you are Smallville, a show where it was about Clark Kent becoming Superman, you still got a sense of joy and fun in that version too. A sense that he's just a good guy and he wants to help people. That he'll trust, he'll give his villains a second chance. That he believes people can be good. When I watch all those different interpretations, they all make you feel like inspired. They make you feel like you want to be a better person. That the world is not completely bad. And I felt like that was just lacking in Man of Steel and Superman Returns. Both movies that I think are okay, but they just lack that personality of the character. Like, you go through all the interpretations I mentioned, and all those actors when it comes to Christopher Reeve, Dean Cain, um, Tom Welling, Taylor. I can't remember the last name of the guy who plays Superman in the Crimson Low show. You go through all four of those actors, again, all different from each other interpretations, but at the core, It's the fact that there's so much joy in the interpretations. There's so much of, man, it makes you feel good about the world. It makes you want to be like a good human, a good human person. Somebody that wants makes you want to like help people. And I always, like I said, I just felt like that kind of lacked in Man of Steel returns. I feel like those movies focus so much on like the God side of the character, but at the end of the day, to me, it's the Clark Kent side that makes him compelling. It's the moral values that Marston Johnson taught him that he was raised on. That despite how people are bad, he'll always try to see the best in people. Like I said, even his own villains. So I love hearing that. As soon as I have a sense of humor, I love that. Sounds like when to get some joy in the character. Because for me, I felt like that's just been lacking since Superman 2. Like you go back to to any of those top things I mentioned, there's a sense of fun with the character. Now, I'm not saying I want it to be like extremely goofy though. Let me make that clear. It's like I'm not saying I want it to be like Superman 3 and 4 where it took the goofiness too far. But I do think I would like to see a Superman movie that just has some joy in it though again. So I love hearing that. And then the last part of it, and this is the part I really wanted to talk about, is that she talked about describing her Lois Lane. She said, feisty, dare I say, marvelous, and fiercely intelligent. I love hearing that. Because to me, there are two major things that makes a great Lois Lane. Her having great chemistry with the actor who plays Superman. Because to me, that's one of the best couples in comics, one of the best love stories. I mean, a great example is that when you go back and watch the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie and you hear him screaming at the end of the movie when he gets Lois's body out of the car and he realizes he couldn't save her. To me, that's a great emotional moment. You bought into it because you bought into the chemistry between Christopher Reeve and Margot Kitty in that movie. Same thing when you go and watch Smallville. You buy in the chemistry between Oak, Delaney, and Tom and you buy in the chemistry between Dean Cain, the actress who plays Lois Lane in that show. When you watch the current Superman Lois show, you feel invested in them as a couple. So I think that's something. So that's one of the major things with Lois Lane. But the other major thing when it comes to just the character, when it comes to the character's personality, is that yes, Lois Lane is vulnerable, but she also has this great spunky, feisty side to her as a reporter that that will go after the story. And I felt like that lacked with Amy Adams. Again, when you go back to Margaret Kitty, when you go back to the actress who plays Lois Lane in the Coachman Lois show, when you go back to the Dean Cain show, that Lois Lane, well, the Lance from Smallville, is that they all have that spunkiness, feistiness side to their Lois Lane, where you really buy them as a reporter, tough ass reporter. And Amy Adams, she was just kind of very bland and forgettable in my opinion. She wasn't bad, but I didn't buy that from her Lois Lane or feel that from her Lois Lane. And actually played Lois Lane so many times. I thought she was just awful. But for me, like neither of those two really captured the character of Lois Lane. So I love hearing that. The fact that Lois is gonna be, like feisty and like intelligent, because Lois Lane is also one of those characters that's also a very smart character too. So it just to me it sounds like she's a fantastic choice. I love what she's saying about this movie. Again, this movie is my most anticipated movie in the future right now. Like I'm hoping this is a movie that makes me fall in love with Superman when it comes to the film side of the character because I haven't loved a Superman movie since Superman 2, in my opinion, for me personally. Where I really come out going like, oh man, that was a great Superman movie. So hopefully this ends up being it. The next thing I want to talk about is there was a trailer put out for Spaceman. I know there was a teaser release, but this is the first full length trailer. And I gotta say, I thought this was a great trailer. The only worry I have is that this movie coming, I believe, from Netflix, which they have a very spotty track record, but I thought this was just a great trailer. And I'm somebody that really gets more excited for Adam Sandler doing more of these dramatic roles now. Like I love the Uncut Gems. I also love that basketball movie he did where he played a coach up and down a basketball player. But he's a great dramatic actor. And I really love him doing more of these roles because no offense to Adam Sandler is that I don't think he's funny anymore. Like I loved a lot of his older comedy stuff, but when he tries to do the goofy, like silly movies now, I'm like, they're not funny anymore. Personally, for me, It's the same thing I feel about Jim Carrey. Why I find it more exciting when Jim Carrey's doing more dramatic roles now than him doing like the silly, goofy stuff he used to do. And I feel like the same way about Adam Sandler. I feel like this trailer had a great emotional hook to it, where it seems like in the trailer he's having like trouble with his marriage, and you have him lost in space, and it just sounds like it looks like a movie that would pull out your heartstrings. And the CGI for the spider looks really good in the trailer, I gotta say. Like it looks like in the trailer I bought into it. So overall, I thought this was just a great emotional trailer. It has me definitely hooked with the story. Definitely one of my most anticipated movies now. The next thing I want to talk about is that Wonka made over 500. I think in one of my past videos I talked about how it crossed over 400, and I just love seeing how this movie just keeps chugging along. This really is becoming the greatest showman, like I said, where it's just like it didn't have the biggest opening, like it had a good opening, but it wasn't like gigantic opening. But people would have seemed to keep going back to it. And this also kind of ties into my Superman thing I talked about earlier, Superman Legacy, where sometimes you just want movies that make you feel good about the world. And Wonka is just this new Wonka movie is just a wonderful, great movie that just gives you so much joy. And I love my dark movies, but sometimes I just want to watch a movie and go like, you know what, that makes you feel like the world is not complete utter crap. And Wonka is just a great, like I said, just a great, wonderful movie. It just makes you feel so good about the world, and it's a movie that deserves to do so well. So I'm just glad this movie just keeps making money. And go check out Wonka if you haven't seen it. I highly recommend the movie. Next thing I want to talk about is Godzilla Minus One made up to 100. It was is great to hear. This is a movie that was made below, was like below 15, and this is a movie that was just a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite movies this past year, and it's a movie you gotta check out. Like to me, it's the best Godzilla movie. It had just a great, compelling, emotional story to it. And I know it's also been announced it's getting a limited release for 1 week, a black and white version, which I think I think this is the type of movie that will look really cool in black and white. It's one of those movies where I could see it really fit in the black and white version, like style of the movie. And it's just a fantastic movie. Like you haven't checked it out, check out Godzilla Minus One. One of the best movies from this past year. In my opinion, it's the best Godzilla movie. Next thing I want to talk about is that Dolph Lundgren was saying how James Wan's original cut of Aquaman 2 was better because he was talking about how his screen time of his character got cut down, and whether the original version of Aquaman 2 was better or not, I doubt one was would ever release like what James Bond's original version was. But this also shows one of the reasons why I really didn't like Aquaman 2 is that it felt like a movie made by a committee. Like the first Aquaman movie, you felt James Bond's tusk in that movie. I felt like it stood out. I felt like it had a personality. In this movie, Aquaman 2, it really did feel like a movie that was weak cut. I mean, it was a movie that went through like 3 or 4 rounds of issues, and it felt it. I think they only now it's like the digital date for it and everything. Like it's made like over 300. This movie is just yeah. Like I give it credit for it made more than the Marvels, but that's not really saying much when the budget is like 2 to 215 plus whatever with the marketing costs. I heard they spent a lot on marketing. So yeah. I mean, hopefully, maybe someday we'll see the original cut of Aquaman too. But him saying the original version is better, I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Like I said, it was a movie from what I heard that went through 3 or 4 hours of reshoots, which it went through a lot of reshoots. And it's just, it's a sad way to see the DCU go out. Personally, for me, like I left the movie just feeling like, wow, that was a terrible way to go out on the DCU, in my opinion. I know some people had fun with that movie, so it has like a high audience score. So, but for me, it was a movie that didn't work, and it was a movie that felt like it was reshot. The next thing I want to talk about, this will be the last thing, is that the live action adaptation of How You Train Your Dragon movies has started filming. I love hearing this because I always get excited when you hear a film is starting to film. But it's a movie that I'm really excited about. And I just recently checked out How You Train Your Dragon movies this year, and they're just great movies to me. They're not just great animated movies. they're just great movies. Like it's one of the best trilogies of all time, in my opinion. Like if you haven't checked out How You Change Dragon movies, go check them out. And I know it's still casting for the live action movie, but it's just so exciting here that they're starting that filming is starting for the movie. Like this is one of my most highly anticipated movies. I just hope I hope this live action movie really lives up to those three animated movies. I hope it's a great movie, and if it ends up being great, hopefully they do two and three. And like I said, I just hope this, as somebody who loves those three animated movies, I really hope this live action movie gets it right when it comes to how great the story and characters were in those movies. So that's all the movie news today. Until next time, movie fans.